Today's video, I'm going to be breaking down a recent video that went viral on Twitter and really garnered a lot of attention. Now, the video that I'm going to be talking about features a few people, Tim Pool and a few others, and this video is really important because, unfortunately for these gentlemen, they started to talk about a subject matter that they know very little about. That is, of course, China. And I think the reason for this is that China is a trending topic. Many people want to start discussing China. We know that China is constantly in the news, and this is a good example of why it is so important to do your accurate research and to really connect with people that have genuine experiences in China and that really understand the country. China is incredibly complex, and to the average American or the average outsider, they're not going to understand it. But this video today that I'm about to show you is very important because it illustrates what happens when somebody with a very large social media following, I'm talking well over 1 million people, starts talking about something that they know absolutely nothing about. We're going to break it down and share some truth in today's video. Let's get started. Everybody, I want to welcome you back to the channel. My name is Cyrus Janssen, and I make weekly vlogs about China and its role in society today. It's my vision to help more people around the world to truly understand China so that we can foster a better relationship and avoid any unnecessary conflicts. Let's go ahead and start today's video by letting you watch this clip from Ian Crossland.
If you don't know, the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, which is in control of China's government right now, is enslaving the Uyghur population, which is from Shenzhen in the northwest of China. They basically, what would you call it, annexed this country of Shenzhen, or this place, and then now they call it China, and they just, because they need the organs, because they're kosher organs, they don't eat meat, and they can sell them to like Saudi Arabians and whoever. I don't know too much, but this is like the crux of this.
Wow, so there was a lot of information that was said in there. Almost all of it was completely inaccurate. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to start by breaking down this clip bit by bit and try to help everybody understand what he's actually saying.
If you don't know, the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, which is in control of China's government right now.
Now, the first thing that I have an issue with is just the way he opens up this dialogue. If you don't know, the Communist Party of China, which, by the way, is in control of China's government. Now, the way that he uses his words here is very important to understand. What Ian is implying right now is that the Communist Party of China is basically controlling the government. What he's trying to basically say is that the Communist Party of China is not the legitimate government of China. The reality is that the Communist Party of China is not controlling the government. It is the government, and it has been for well over 70 years. Now, this is one of the things that I really want people to understand. If we are going to foster a better relationship with China, one of the things that we must come to the table with is respect. I know that in America that nobody likes communism. I understand that. And I'm not trying to say that we need to embrace the Communist Party of China. I'm not saying that you need to agree with the Communist Party of China. But if we are having a relationship with China, we have to respect China as a sovereign country and realize that their government is different from ours. There is no doubt about it. The Communist Party of China is the official and legitimate government of China. Again, this is simply a fact. And when you say something like this, you're already starting to deceive your audience.
Is enslaving the Uyghur population, which is from Shenzhen in the northwest of China. They basically, what would you call it, annexed this country of Shenzhen, or this place, and then now they call it China, and they just...
So the next thing that Ian does is he makes a simple mistake here. What he says is he says Shenzhen when he actually meant to say Xinjiang. Now, in fairness, Ian did realize that he made this mistake, and he went on Twitter to later correct this. And this was simply a common mistake that he made. For many Westerners that don't understand China, they don't know the difference between Shenzhen and Xinjiang. They actually sound quite similar, but again, this just gives you an indication of how little he knows about the subject matter. Again, if you're going to have a podcast and you're going to be talking about sensitive issues and really important issues, you really need to understand your subject matter. It's very, very important. But again, let's give Ian the benefit of the doubt. Again, he corrected himself. He did say that he simply had a slippage in words. But what I want people to understand is that he made a very big mistake after that. He said that Xinjiang is essentially a country. But let me go ahead and put this in Western perspectives. This would be equivalent to saying Canada has annexed the country of Quebec. Well, Quebec is not a country. Quebec is a province within Canada. This would be like saying America has annexed the country of Alaska. No, Alaska is not a country. Again, Alaska is a state, one of the 50 states in America. This is really important for people to understand. Again, what I try to do, break it down with facts and logic. The fact is that Xinjiang is a province. It is actually the northern west province in China. It's directly above Tibet.
Because they need the organs, because they're kosher organs. They don't eat meat, and they can sell them to like Saudi Arabians and whoever. I don't know too much, but this is like the crux of this.
Now, the best part about this clip is just how he ends there. Just listen to that one more time.
I don't know too much. But
I don't know too much. I mean, he admits it. I don't really know too much. And this really is the problem when you just start getting all of your information online, and why the internet can be such a dangerous place. There is no filter. We do not know the difference between real and fake. And again, Ian himself said it. I don't really know much about this. And yes, it's quite obvious. You know very little about that because there is no credible evidence that China is harvesting organs because they're kosher and then selling them to Saudi Arabia. And again, this is just a complete conspiracy theory that has just gotten out of control on the unfiltered internet. And it's really important to understand this because, unfortunately, with these gentlemen, they have a very large social media following. Again, we're talking well over 1 million people. And for the average American and the average Westerner, they're not going to understand China. So they're going to start taking everything as facts. Let me show you another clip.
That's what kind of started all this. Taiwan was a British colony. It was from the Opium Wars. They set up. I think it was Taiwan, right?
Again, here we have Ian, not sure about his subject matter. I mean, you can literally see him at the end. I think it was Taiwan. Wait, let me just go on my computer and let me just Google search that just to see that I'm right. This is a really big warning to everybody out there. If you do not understand the subject, please do not go out and try to make a podcast. I'll give you an example. I don't know anything about guitars, but let's imagine that one day guitars become so popular, they're mainstream, everybody's talking about guitars. And then all of a sudden I think to myself, well, you know what? Everybody seems to be talking about guitars. Why don't I make a video about guitars on YouTube? Because I bet it could go viral. And that's the problem. I don't know anything about the subject. If I make a video about guitars, it's not going to be a very good video because I have nothing to bring to the table. And this is exactly what we're seeing with these guys that are wanting to do a podcast about China. They know very little about China, but they know that China is trending. They know that China is a hot topic. So they start thinking to themselves, well, why don't we just do a podcast about China? I can do some Google search, I can do some research on Twitter, and let's just go ahead and talk about it like we actually know what we're talking about. But that's not all. Let's continue to break this down further.
Because they have very hard times even just making their society run in some instances.
I imagine that people hate the government there. Just hate it.
Now, this is a really good clip to examine because, again, here we have Ian who is again speculating. I imagine that Chinese people must hate the government. Now, when you say I imagine, what that means is that I don't actually have any evidence, nor do I have any real insights. It's basically just my opinion. I guess this is what Chinese people would be doing. In reality, we know that Chinese people genuinely do support the government. Again, there was a 15-year study done by Harvard University, and the results show that over 90% of Chinese people genuinely do support the government in China. And I know that that is a very difficult fact for many Westerners to understand. Because again, this is what Ian is doing. He's examining China through the typical mind of the average American. He's comparing China to America's system. And he's saying, wow, China is very different than what I grew up here in America. So I guess Chinese people must hate their government. Again, if you're in China, what you've seen over the last 30 years has been a tremendous miracle. The quality of life is continuing to get better and better in China. And many Chinese people are very proud of their government. They're very proud of their country. And they're very optimistic about the future. But again, if you're only looking at it from the eyes of American, you're not going to understand China. And this is why it is so crucial for people to go to China, experience it, and if you can't do that, start asking real Chinese people what their genuine feelings towards China really is.
Well, it depends. They're raised as young children to love the state, to obey the state, and they know if they dare even to criticize it, they lose privileges. They lose the ability to send their children into good schools. They lose the ability to travel. They lose the ability to have good internet because they criticized the government or smoked a cigarette in the wrong place or jaywalked. So there's also that aspect of it.
Now, this is an interesting clip that we can analyze. Ian's colleague here is specifically referring to China's social credit system. And what he wants people to believe that China's government is so strict that if you jaywalk across the street, or even if you smoke a cigarette in the wrong place, the communist government is going to come after you. Of course, this is completely inaccurate and untrue. And again, this is somebody jumping to conclusions without having any real knowledge into China's social credit system. Let me share with you an article that actually breaks it down a little better. China's social credit system is actually quite boring. The supposedly Orwellian system is fragmented, localized, and mostly targeted at businesses. And this is really important for people to understand. Once we hear China's social credit system, immediately all we start thinking about is that China's government is a surveillance state. They're tracking every move of their citizens. Even if you smoke a cigarette in the wrong place, you're going to go to jail. This is what we have been taught to think in the West. But if you actually do your research, break down what is actually happening with the social credit system, you'll see something entirely different. This is a tweet from Radio Free Amanda. By the way, a fantastic follow on Twitter I highly recommend. And this is what she shares. In the end, it served its purpose. You mention China's social credit system, and people's minds immediately jump to this Orwellian system of surveillance. That's how propaganda works. Push sensationalized half-truths, maybe issue correction later when no one will notice.
And consider how you control people with tribalism. So they're raised to hate America as well. To be told that they're the bad ones, they're evil, and then they cheer when they win. We're winning, yay, they're losing. So that makes people, it boosts their morale, it makes them want to be involved in that mob mentality, essentially.
Now we're going to end today's video by analyzing this clip from Tim Pool, and this is really important because this is a great example of how dangerous this can be when you have a very large subscriber base and you're talking about subject that you do not understand. Chinese citizens are not taught to hate Americans. That is complete nonsense. I've lived in China for many years. I continue to do business in China to this day. And as an American citizen, I have never been treated with anything but respect in China. Chinese people love America. Chinese people love American people. But Chinese people are extremely frustrated with America's government. And they're not alone. Travel to the Middle East, travel to places in Europe, South America, you will often hear the same thing. Nobody has a problem with the country of America. Nobody has a problem with American citizens. But there are many countries around the world that are not a fan of the United States government and how they operate around the world. This is a basic fact. But it's really important that we can differentiate citizens like myself from the government. And it's really important to understand that because as an American citizen, I have no control of what my government can do. I know that the United States government is the most warlike government that exists in the world today. I wish we could change that. The only thing that I can do as I travel around the world and I continue my expat journey of nearly 15 years is try to be a good representative of my country. When somebody meets Cyrus Janssen, I want them to say, this guy's a good American. He has a kind heart. He's a good person. He works for equality. He tries to build bridges. And this is why I have been successful in China and around the world, because I come to the table with an open mind, respecting other cultures, and most definitely trying to build bridges. And this is what I want people to understand. Chinese people do not hate America or Americans, but they are frustrated at this deteriorating relationship between the United States and China. And it's really important that we have better facts and that we can come to the table with an open mind. Again, let's go back to the beginning of this video. We have to respect China as a sovereign country, that they have their own government and that they do things differently. China is never going to be like America, just like America is never going to be like China. So guys, as we come to the end of this video, I first of all want to say thank you for your incredible support. I really appreciate you subscribing to this channel and helping me out as we help more people around the world truly understand China. Again, this is an important relationship that really needs to prosper and really needs to get better. And what we need to do is we need to be able to decipher what's real and what's fake. And most importantly, if you're genuinely interested in learning more about China, please seek out some credible resources. Connect with people on the ground or people that have had tremendous experience inside of China. Because if you're getting your information from Google, Wikipedia, or what you've randomly seen on Twitter, most definitely you're going to receive some fake information, and this is what is causing this great divide in this world. Everybody, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it with me here on YouTube. I appreciate all your support, and I look forward to seeing you all in a future video.